Welcome back to Getting the Green. My name is Kevin, and today we're going to focus in on the status update, the progress update for the front end, right? So in order to get into that, what we need to do first is we actually need to handle some errors that kind of got past me. So let's jump into it. What we have is, let's go to yarn dev. So we're going to run this, and if we go to our website, you can see we get this error, and let's see, can I move this? I'll just close it. The to-do store has some errors here, and it's actually just missing this I. So that's a quick fix. So we'll go to to-do store, and right here at the top, we need to import the actual stuff. So adding the I there fixes that. But if we scroll down, we also have update progress, which is kind of like grayed out. Because if we go down here, we're still using update status, and it's actually update progress. Save that. And the last little bit is in our to-do icon, where we have a couple of small things, like just this prop status, it's supposed to be progress. We changed that in the last one. Okay, so that should actually fix everything, and we have this now working, but this doesn't seem to be working. When we click this, we get a, no, where are we? Console. The prop checked failed, important, we don't care about that, but this isn't working, so pretty much we just don't have things hooked up. So if we go back to our store, what we can see is we're doing the update progress and we're passing in the progress. I don't actually want to do that. I want the store to figure out what it's supposed to be. So if I clear out this, and we have all of our stuff here, it's finding the to-do, and we pass it with the ID, and I want to figure out what that progress is. So we need to figure a few things out. First, I want to know what possible options we have, and the whole array of those things. So I want to do a progress array, and I could do this new in progress and complete. But this array is getting reset everywhere. I think if I look this up, if I copy this and search everywhere, let's see what happens. We have it already in 3 different places. We have it in a request, which is a PHP. We have it in the store, and we have it in a test. So there's just, and it's going to keep kind of going around. And we have TypeScript. So if we go to todo.d, we have the type here. It'd be nice if we can actually use this as our source of truth. I don't want to later on be like, oh, in progress, I'd probably just like to change that to whatever. I don't want to have to go and change this everywhere that we do it. So what we can do is we can reference this. Instead of having it being a type, let's do export an enum. Name this to do progress. And this is just going to equal, it's going to be new in progress and complete. Let's make sure all of that is the same. So the difference between a type and an enum is that the enum is supposed to actually carry over into when we render this all out. When it compiles down, it'll be a runtime object or array that we'll have. So what we can do over in our store is, instead of having this, we can do object dot values, and we'll go to to-do progress, right? Yep. We brought that in. So we can see up the top here, we have our to-do progress from to-do. And the weird thing about the enums is that, let's say we have the 3, we have the new, in progress, and complete. It'll also give us an object that has 0, 1, and 2. So I'm going to show that to you right now. So we'll do filter well, I won't do the filter. I'll just do log progress array, right? So if we go back to our guy here, let's see, what is this giving us? 500 error. What is happening now? Make this bigger. Import to do progress. Does file exist? Where is this at? To do store. Yeah. Does it need that D? Okay, so it just needed that extra D for the definitions. Interesting enough. So now if we click here, we'll get a, this is our array, because we did the values from the object. We have our new, in progress, complete, 0, 1, and 2. So we don't want these three at the bottom. We really only care about these. So what I'll do is I'll filter those out. And we'll go right here. We'll go filter. And we'll say the value we want is not a number. And we'll give it a number. And then v. So this checks if it is a number. And because we're using TypeScript, we're going to say this is now as a to-do progress array. Save that. And we'll go back over to here. We still have that, right? So we'll refresh. And if we click this again, we're going to get just the new, in progress, and complete. So we don't have to worry about all that stuff. Probably could actually hide that in here too. It's all right though. Maybe in the future we'll figure that out. So now what I want to do is I want to figure out between all of those what we actually are using and kind of convert it to an index. So I'll say const our progress index equals our progress array dot find index, and that progress is progress equals our to do dot progress. So now we have the index. So now we're going to not return this. We'll say to do progress equals our progress array and our progress index plus 1, right? So we're going to the next one. Else, and if it doesn't have any more, you know, like if we get to, because there's 3 of them, so the last index would be 2. So if we go to index of 3, it's going to be undefined, so we want to go back down to 0. So I'm just going to say progress array 0. So now if we save, and we can go back to our front end, we will get an error. Let's see. There's the 1, 2, boom, 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 boom. So now it's new, in progress, complete, new, in progress, complete. So that's fantastic. And now we're going to have to hook this up to the back end, and I want to start having some, really need to get some tests going for this one, right? So let's go over and create some of those new tests. Let's go to our to-do store spec. So we have our Axios being mocked, and we have our get, we have our post. We're going to want another one for Axios.patch. This is a patch request. So we're going to mock resolved value, and it doesn't really matter. We'll just say data and just give it an empty object because we don't really care what the response is. We're not dealing with that right now. But we can go down here, and at the very end we can have it. Let's see. It can update its progress, and we'll give this a function, and we'll start this off. We're working with the store, with Axios, so it's going to be an async function we're going to run into, so we want this to be async as well. And we're going to do, well, we got to set up our environment a little bit, so we need to store .todos.push, and we're just going to give this something random. So we need an ID of 1, title. It's not really important. My first test, and we're going to do progress. We're going to set it up as new, because that's what we care about. It's a new one. We want it to go to in progress. All right, so let's go here. We'll say, well, let's just expect that that's working. Expect store.todos at the very first one, .progress .to equal new. And we're going to create another thing here. So yarn test spec, we'll do resources, JS stores, tests, we'll do to-do store spec. Now this will just run just that only that one test. That's what we care about. We just care about this test running. So it's going to take a couple seconds, and everything is running. One test passed, 2. I didn't save this, so if I save it, it'll run again, and now there's 3 tests passing because that passes. Well, what I want to do is I want to await store.update progress. And I want to say, I'm going to give it the ID of 1, and I want to expect store.todos 0.progress to equal in progress. I'm going to hit it again, and now it should be complete. If I save this, I have a failure. And we have what? Undefined to equal in progress. So let's see, we got everything here. Oh, don't know how to spell. Save again. Everything's working. So let's actually have it go one more. And now, just to be sure, it goes all the way back to new. And it did. Fantastic. So now we have a test that makes sure that everything is running correctly. We're not hooked up to Axios yet, but that's the next thing I want to do. I want to, let's go to our to-do store. And I want to say, I want to say axios.patch, and where we're going is our to-do slash, I'm going to give it the ID, and we're going to mark it as our to-do.progress. And now we save, it's still passing, but I want to make sure that, you know, the test was, let me just grab this from over here. I want to make sure that this expect axios.patch to have been called times, let's see, we did it 1, 2, 3, I think it's 3, we'll try 3. Just want to make sure that it's called, and it is. So just to be sure, if it didn't get called 34 times, it should fail, and that's because it something's logging here. Yep, expected wrap to be called 34 times. I don't know why it said wrap, but if I did 2, let's see what happens if it gives us a better, yeah, 2 instead of 3. So this is actually 3, and this is all well and good. If we go back to our page here, we refresh, we click something, we get an internal server error, and probably there's something going on with it. So let's click it again, we get another server error. Let's go to our network. Let's yeah, so we sent it new and we sent it in progress. Column not, oh, let's see. I don't think we ever actually. Let's do this. npm. No, not that. What is it with PHP artisan migrate fresh? Dropping all the tables. That's probably why we were getting that error too, because it probably still thought it was status instead of it being progress. So now if we yarn dev into this, and we come back here, it's refreshing for us. And let's create a new to-do. And now we can click, and it's new. Click it. We're getting the in progress. Everything seems to be working. We're not getting errors. And if we refresh, it's still in progress. And do again, and just to prove something, haha, and we refresh, it's still updated and it's saved. Now this is really cool. However, let's clear this out. If I spam this, you know, it still works, right? But that's a lot of different, you know, things that are happening. And instead of having it constantly go out and send something to the database and write a whole bunch of times and sending all of this stuff to the routes and all that stuff into the server, what if we had a debounce function here, right? So we can send it only after, you know, if we click it once, you got to wait a certain amount of time. If it's clicked within that time again, we don't want to send it again. So let's go over to our test, and I want to say, this is going to be fun. So I want to go up to the top. Let's see, do we have the clock? We are using fake timers. So up here, vi use fake timers. We're using vtest. So what we can do is I can say here, we say vi.advance timers by time. And we're going to say 499. I'll do that twice here. And on this last one, we're going to advance timers by this 500. And now we only expect this to be called one time. So we save, go back to our other thing here, and we're seeing still being called 3 times. So let's go to our store, and right here I want to debounce. And we can grab debounce from Lodash. So import debounce from Lodash. Now, when I was originally trying this out, this didn't work. For whatever reason, Lodash's debounce wasn't working. But I'm going to show you the error that I was getting anyway, and maybe one of you guys in the comments can tell me why I'm doing this wrong. But we have a debounce, and I want to pass it a function. So pass it a function, and that function is right here. And then I just want to give it some time. I think 500 works. Within my testing when I was writing this originally, 500 felt really good. So I save now, and it's giving me a 0. It's saying that this never ran. And if we go back to our actual code here, go to console, and I click it, after 500 milliseconds, it should have done something, but it's not. And if we go back here, let's get rid of, let's say this, and we'll say, instead of patching it, I just want to console.log hey. So now we're logging something. I come back here, refresh. I'm going to turn these where is it? Default levels. I'm going to get rid of the warnings. So now when we click this, it's not logging anything, which feels weird, right? If we come back to our code, instead of passing it this whole function, we'll just give it that function directly. And now when we click it, let me refresh, click it, we get the hey, but we get this uncaught type error expected of function. I wonder if, actually that's a type scripting thing. I wonder as function. No, as Yeah, so it works. So if we change this and we bring this back, we pass that in and we save it, refresh, and expected a function. Let's go to our network tab, and we did in fact send it, so it did work. And if you refresh, it is still complete. Go to the next one. It's new. It's still working, but this weird error that it expected a function. It's probably a typescripting issue. I don't know how to fix it, but we're going to leave it in. Or I could write a function. Actually, I'm going to do that. So check this out. Instead of using their debounce, let's go to let's go create something. Let's go to our utilities. So we'll go to utilities. No, we don't have one. So JS, we'll have in our JS, create a new folder called utils. And in here, we'll have a file just called utilities. Utilities. .ts. Rename. All the way at the bottom. TS. And while we're at it, we'll do a tests. And in here, we'll do utilities.spec.ts. All right, so in here, we're going to run this through a TDD kind of a fashion. So we're going to describe our utilities. And since there could be more utilities, I want to say describe our debounce. And that should probably be a sync. All right, and it can call a function after a given time. I don't need this to be async. All right, and then we'll say const. We'll make a fake function that we're going to do, and this is going to be vi.function, and it's just going to be, it doesn't do anything, right? Yeah. And that's our function. And we're going to say debounce, and we're going to give it that fake function. We're going to say 300, and then we're going to say expect fake not dot to have been called, and then we're going to say vi dot advance timers by time. So we have 300. We'll say 300, and then we should say that we do expect this to have been called. All right, so we need is we need, I don't know why it's giving me an error about the describe. Did I not spell describe right? No, not spelled correctly. Anyways, let's go back to our utilities. I want to create that function now, so we're going to do what I want to do is I want to create that function. So I'm going to say export const debounce, and this is going to equal a function that takes a callback, and that's going to take some args, if any, and they could be any type, and it returns a void, most likely, right? I don't care about it. And then a timeout is also going to take, it's going to be, since the other one is, you cannot, that one's, yeah, we'll just make it a default timeout. We'll say that is a number. And we'll just give that function a run. So we'll say if, and then we need, what we need is an actual variable. So let's do let debounce timeout, or let's say function debounce function equals null. And then if we have a debounce function, we want to clear that timeout. Clear timeout debounce function. And then debounce timeout function, equals set timeout. And we'll say timeout, and we'll just bring this up, and we'll say the function is now the callback. Save this, go back to our utility spec, and we have a debounce now, and that brings our debounce in. And do I need to import vtest or something? I don't know why that's giving me an error. Let's do this. We'll go JS utilities bop bop bop. Let's see. Timers are not mocked. Yep, that's correct. So before each, we want to use fake timers. And then after each, since we're doing that, we also want to use real timers. Save that. And now we're getting a passing test, so that's cool. So it can call that function for us. And we want the opposite of that. So we want to say, well, not the opposite, but we want to make sure that that it only calls it one time if you spam that function, right? Let's do it only makes one call before timeout. All right, so before timeout finishes, makes more sense. Elapses, whatever. So we want that fake function again, and we want to say that. So here, and what we'll do is we'll say we have our first call. And that's going to be vi.advanced timers by time, and that's going to be 299 because we want it to go right up to the edge there, and then we're going to say debounce fake. Bop, bop, bop. Oops. Bop. So we have our first call, our second call, and why not our third call? And we're going to actually, this last one is going to be 300. No, we don't want to do that. Oh yeah, we just don't want to call it again. So now we're going to expect fake that to have been called once. Save. Now we have two passing tests. So what's happening here is we're creating the fake, and we're calling it through the debounce, and just before that time elapses, we're calling it again. So we're clearing the timeout and resetting everything for our debounce. So that's really nice. And I have some comments over here. I'm just going to copy them for here. So it's going to create a new debounce method that sets a timeout with a callable function. And I just made a note that lowdance isn't working. That's why this exists. Well, it works. It just has that weird error, which we could look into. But this is kind of a fun thing. If you guys wanted to see how to create your own, that's how you do it. And so save that. Now we could go use that in our store. Where is that? To do. I hate having all of these. So this debounce is now not from there. And we'll go down here and we'll say debounce. And if we try to import this, I don't know why my imports aren't working. It's annoying. Import debounce from, and then let's see this. Let's see utils. I keep hitting all the wrong buttons. Utils and then utilities, and we have that as a export. So now we can be able to put that in. We're going to clear out this task. We're not running that one anymore, and we could run the to-do store again. Let's see what happens if that started working. It has to compile a little bit. If we come here, refresh, I don't have that running either. We do have a failure. Callback must be a function received object. Okay. Let's see. Where's my debounce? So here we're just sending it an actual whatever. I want to just send it. Yeah. Just send it as a function completely, and now it works. So that's because we're using hours. And if we go back to our other guy here, this is supposed to be working. Yarn dev, we'll just restart it and refresh. And there we go. So now this, click it, go to our network. Let's clear all this stuff out. Click it, we wait a little bit. We did get the new 1, 2, 3, new 1, 2, complete. So now it's just, we can spam this all we want, and then it'll update when it gets to where it's supposed to be. And the reason we did this is because if we just don't want to have a lot of those calls to the back end, and we want to just send it. So this is all working. Is that everything? Let's see how many files we have. All right, we just have a couple of things done, and that's how. Oops. That's it. I feel like I'm missing something. That was nice and short and sweet. It never happens. All right. Well, that's it. In our next episode, I want to take care of a few little underlying things, little niceties to have, such as if we go up here, we're doing like the dot stuff, so we're very particular about where we're going, and this just gets annoying because if we're further deep into it, I don't want to have something like this, right? So I want to have an @ symbol here that's going to denote where we're actually going, and it's just a little bit of configuration-y stuff, and I don't want to get into that this episode, but this seems to be working for us, and we have everything. Yeah, it seems great. All right, so that's it for me. Like, comment, subscribe, you know, YouTube stuff, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.